And we're back.
And we're back. Well, hello.
Hello.
Hello, all. Welcome. It is Monday evening, Generational Change. I'm Jen.
I'm Peter, and now you're on our channel. Welcome, Status Q viewers. I believe we have a few of you guys here. If you haven't already. Yes.
We are going to be talking some Florida stuff today as well, but it's still stuff that's extremely relevant to what's going on nationally. It's sort of like as a microcosm of some of the problems we're seeing nationally. Is what we're going to be talking about. But we are going to be fortunate enough to be joined by our favorite State House representative, not our personal representative, because we don't live in the I-4 corridor.
And one of her amazing colleagues as well.
Yes.
For the first time, who is also being hunted down as a candidate. And what a surprise. So this will be something we'll discuss afterwards.
Okay.
Jen is not too fond of talking to content creators who don't really bring anything to the table of value. No. And one of the top streamers who you guys probably know is Counterpoints, and he wants to debate the merit of actually going too hard on Israel right now. It's like, come on. I'm not. And I think that they just do that just for shits and giggles.
Well, yeah, again, and people know this if you watch me, I don't debate. I don't want to. I don't feel the need to argue. I will put out information.
Well,
I will receive information, but I'm not going to sit there and argue with people.
There's a difference between debating on an issue that has absolutely no merit. This idea that you want to debate whether or not Israel is committing a genocide, that conversation's over.
It's over.
Like, it's not a conversation.
No.
Like, you can't pretend.
That's the thing. The things that people want to debate are non-debatable topics to me. I'm not going to debate universal health care with you. I'm not going to debate, whether or not this is a genocide. Like, there's just certain things that I'm just not going to debate because they're established to me. So I don't see the value in a debate about it. Also, I'm confident in how I feel about things. If somebody wants to give me new information, I'm always open to receiving new information, and I'm always willing to talk about things with people. But no, I don't do debates because for the most part, that's just theater, and it's not really meant to establish any real information for people. It's just meant to sort of like best people and I got you and all this stuff. And that to me is just not productive. I've never liked it. Now, I used to like real debates. Like when we would do things like, moot court in law school, and you would actually have a valid debate. That's awesome. But that's not what people want to do. And so I have no interest in arguing with people about stuff to me.
And I also think people like to debate certain issues, debate them, if you will, argue about certain issues just for the sake of arguing, that there isn't any merit to what they're talking about.
Well, that's mostly what they're doing. And the other problem I have, and especially when it comes to debating anybody on Palestine, is that it's not possible to debate someone where you're coming at something with two different sets of facts. See, a debate is a valuable thing. Everybody has the same set of facts. And somebody says, I think this is the best way to handle it. And somebody else says, I think this is the best way to handle it. And you debate those two things to come to the best thing, right? Like, and you hear both sides. And that's really the point of that kind of discourse. That's the whole point of it, right? But so when we're talking about things like genocide, this isn't something that I'm willing to debate with people, but people coming from it from a Zionist perspective are not sharing my same set of facts. That's the problem. They are not sharing my same set of facts. They do not acknowledge that the Nakba happened. They don't acknowledge facts. So when people don't acknowledge facts, I don't know how we're going to have any sort of intelligent conversation. Like, it doesn't serve me.
Well, we certainly have a lot of things to talk about.
Yes.
And it really goes without saying that if there is an eye of the hurricane when it comes to politics in the United States, our sunshine state, here comes the sun. The irony of Tiger.
It's one of my favorite songs. It is.
How could it not be? I mean, it is one. Well, you saw the video that I sent you the other day, right? With the golden retrievers. Yeah. Here comes the sun. I mean, how much more perfect could that possibly be?
I'm gonna so end up with a shedder, and I don't want to. I know it's gonna happen. I know it's gonna happen. I've been having golden retriever like dreams, and it's just not. I have to get that shit out of my head. I don't want a shedder.
There is nobody that we think more highly of in Florida politics. Not because it's the popular thing to do, it's the right thing to do, because you need real fighters in Tallahassee.
And apparently now are Democrats in Tallahassee, who are, for the most part, the only bastion of resistance that we have in the state. Now there's people within that group that are
making it a lot more
that are no
difficult
longer on my team.
Yeah. Well, she is certainly the leader of leaders, in my humble opinion.
Yes.
And that is what makes her special.
Our favorite state House rep.
And Eskamani, welcome back to Generational Change.
Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, though, thank you so much for giving us your time. And obviously, there's so much stuff going on right now. And there's tons of stuff. And I know people, I mean, he wanted to talk about DeSantis. I really am so sick of talking about
I think the only thing that we really, the thing I think we really just need to address is that while it is the rest of the country's reward that they don't have to deal with him anymore, it's now our problem, because now he's back in the governor's mansion and is going to take a much more interesting look into all the things going on in the legislative session. So what does that mean for us Floridians?
Yeah, what should we be looking forward to with that?
I mean, first of all, y'all are spot on. Like, you're welcome, America. You know, we helped to stop this guy from getting close to the White House. But my God, here in Florida, there is so much uncertainty, and I'm almost worried that he has more time on his hands, right, to be in Florida. There's two things a hurt dog does. They either whimper or they bite. And I think DeSantis is someone who's going to bite. And even just earlier this evening, I served as an ex officio committee member for a bill attacking trans people. And, you know, one would argue that this bill is basically, you know, from the governor's presidential ambitions, but it had a hearing and it passed, and the attacks on marginalized communities don't seem to be stopping. So despite the fact that DeSantis is failing as presidential bid, and of course, part of that is tied to his path to power, exploiting marginalized people, doesn't seem to stop what's happening in the legislature. So I think it's important for us to take that victory lap, but then run back into the building, right, to keep fighting, because it's definitely not getting better here in the Sunshine State.
And we definitely have one major victory that we can hang our hat on. Women's reproductive freedom is on the ballot in November.
Well, wait. Did it get officially approved to get on? No, we got the signatures.
Correct. So we made the huge, you know, milestone of getting the verified petitions, which was still a big deal, because that was 910,000 verified petitions within a time span of May to December. So it's still something to be proud of. But you're right, Jen. We have the February 7th oral arguments. And so we were preparing for that. And can watch those remotely online as well. And I encourage folks to do so. Basically, Ashley Moody is trying to challenge the language by saying that it's vague and unclear. The counter is that she's wrong. The language is incredibly clear. Wow. And so, you know, that is going to be the next fight in this effort. And I think it's a reflection of how Floridians are pushing back. You know, more than 150,000 Republicans signed that petition. Yeah. So, you know, we're going to do everything we can to get it through this next hurdle. But the momentum has been really, really inspirational. And I do want to give a shout out to Tom Keene over in District 35. That was another, you know, strong win we had. We worked really hard here in Orange County. Huge shout out to Congressman Maxwell Frost, our team, the local Democratic Party and Chair Samuel. I mean, we worked our butts off. We were knocking on doors in that district, doing vote by mail renewal during the primary months before, because despite, you know, having a primary, we were like, you know what, we can still do the work to get people ready to vote, regardless of who is the ultimate Dem on their ballot. And so that's a huge credit to so many different actors that came together to flip that seat. And I do hope that it's a sign of better things to come.
Okay, so on a sadder note, when I think about Florida's legislature, I've said it before, I think of like this small group of Democrats, like the resistance, right? Like it's sort of like, I think of Star Wars and you guys are like the resistance and there's few of you and you're mostly on defense. And I get that, like and yet I do know, because I've spoken with Robin Bartleman about this, but things do get through and get done. Like there are things that get done on the offense, but it's not the bigger issues that we're worried about. But this is something that concerns me, is that now I'm seeing Democrats, specifically my representative, putting forth that nonsense about anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism, okay? And that's very concerning to me, because our Democrats in our Florida House are already fairly weakened as a constituent group. Right? Like you guys are small. So now to think that there's people within that group that are not on the same page is really upsetting to me. Can you please talk about that resolution and how that came about?
Yeah, I can. I mean, I think you're referencing the IRA definition, right? I assume, or is it something
else?
It
was whatever Gottlieb put forward about
defining anti-Semitism.
It's the thing.
Right.
It's the
House
Florida
Bill
version
House Bill 187
of the federal one that our congresswoman put forth
to codify the definition of anti-Semitism.
Why are both of my representatives, both my state representative and my congressional representatives, are leading this nonsense?
Right. I mean, I think it's, it's a very challenging and emotional time, right? And so I empathize with all marginalized people and individuals that are that either they are targeted or feel targeted, because for me, both experiences are valuable, and I want to make sure that people are safe in Florida. Now, I would argue that Florida has a lot of work to do, not just when it comes to the LGBT plus community or communities of color, but also the Jewish community. We had white supremacists just on I-4 throwing banners down and, holding swastikas. And so Florida has a lot of work to do in combating all forms of hate, including anti-Semitism. And I actually want to give huge kudos to the Biden administration, because they've actually, back in May, they rolled out this one-of-a-kind historic guideline and plan and national strategy to combat anti-Semitism, which Florida has not adapted. Florida has not actually, looked at that to implement pieces of it. And so, the filing of House Bill 187 definitely caused concern. And myself and two others, we voted no on it in its first iteration because of these concerns. The interesting part about this, and I have done my homework because I, really wanted to make sure I understood this, and I can also learn from all perspectives. So we brought in not just conversations with our Jewish-focused organizations and Jewish experts, but also organizations like Engage, organizations like Care Florida, organizations that center, diverse voices that do feel like the IRA definition censors First Amendment rights. And I want to actually provide some context to the conversation that took place behind the scenes on this, because I want to basically provide some comfort that feedback that we shared on these points, especially when it comes to legitimate criticism of Israel not being defined as anti-Semitism, which the IRA definition online actually says, but it's not in this bill. That feedback was well taken. And I'm actually really hopeful that the Senate version is going to be amended to include that really important additions. Another line from the IRA website that's not in the bill, by the way, is context. That the contemporary examples of anti-Semitism that are provided in the definition, the website actually says that these must be taken in context. And that's a really important piece of language that's not in the bill. So we're also hoping to get that added as well. So to your point, it's frustrating when bills get filed, and I think people are well-meaning. They're fighting for their communities, but they don't necessarily look at the bigger picture of some of the concerns. And this was a policy fight that also happened in 2019. It's happened since this definition became established, back in like 2016, 2017. But I want to provide some comfort that the Democratic caucus, we have been having some really, I would say, healthy, productive, and thoughtful dialogue on this. And I'm hopeful that the amendments that come from the Senate are going to reflect your concerns and that of many people who contacted our office who are worried about First Amendment violations, and are also honestly worried about how this is not going to actually stop anti-Semitism. At the end of the day, it's
making it worse.
Right.
It's making it worse. And to be clear, and to be very clear, and I not only need, like, the idea of provisions, yes, and I understand context. I do not understand why my tax dollars, and we are talking state, so no MMT people coming after me, is what my representative is doing with his time, is defining something that doesn't need to be defined. So this entire thing is a waste of time and resources. It's offensive. It's anti-Semitic, quite honestly. And the fact that that's what they're doing and is going on there, when there is so much stuff that needs to get done, that's the problem. So I sure hope that their language isn't a complete violation of my First Amendment rights, but make no mistake, this is not what you people need to be doing with your time.
And I hear that. I mean, especially when we have things like property insurance and you know, Florida actually is one of the worst states when it comes to reporting hate crimes in general. Yeah. So I filed legislation during the last special session to put requirements on hate crime data reporting, because the reality is that we don't even have good data on whether it's anti-Semitism or anti-LGBTQ plus or racial or gender. We are not actually collecting this data, so we don't even have a good perspective on how frequent hate crimes are. And I want to stress again that even online, the IRA website and even on ADL National's own website, they make it very clear that this is a definition that is meant to be used as a guideline, but not one that should replace current legal standards and guidelines. So even online, it makes that clear. But again, I do want to, at the very least, provide the comfort that conversations have been incredibly productive.
Good.
I don't want to fall into like dem on dem violence. You know what I mean? Like, we've had enough of that in Florida over the years and in Congress. And so, you know, as someone who, you know, is absolutely like much more intentional on some of these issues, I have been welcome. My feedback has been really well received. And I do feel grateful for that, because I know in other places of legislators, that's not the case, right? People get pushed out or ignored. Yeah. But, we've actually had some really good conversations, and I feel very hopeful and confident that the final version is going to alleviate different concerns. That's only because of, you know, your activism and sharing your concerns, and of course the willingness of the bill sponsor and others to work together to figure this out. And
I'd be happy to talk to the bill sponsor. I don't think he'd come on our show.
I mean, you definitely should. Yeah, I mean, definitely, you know, extend the invitation, write the email. I mean, I feel like the Democratic caucus in Florida, I can only speak to us, like we try really hard to find the areas where we agree, and where we disagree, we try not to have it impact how we fight together on other issues.
Right.
And let me tell you, I had the same struggle on corporate issues, right? Like, I see Democratic colleagues for voting with corporations, and I'm just like, like pulling my hair out, you know? But to your point, Jen, there's only 36 of us. So part of me is like, okay, you know, I'm gonna talk to you about my concerns. I'm gonna be really expressive and direct and share that with you.
Yeah.
But I'm also going to be strategic in, you know, what fights are going to be relevant today compared to the one we have to prepare for tomorrow. So I try to be really thoughtful in that. And
that's why you're so good at what you do. That's why you're good at what you do. But just know that people like my state rep do not speak for all Jews. And that there is, and I know that you probably have interactions with Jewish Voice for Peace and that organization. Yeah. And that I'm thankful that those groups, and I feel like I'm always very proud to say I'm associated with Jewish Voice for Peace, because I feel like I'm just thankful that even exists now.
Oh, for sure.
And as you know,
thank you for advocating for peace as well. That's so important.
Yeah. And as you know, women's right to choose, as well as Israel, unfortunately, are two extreme lightning rod issues, and they probably always will be. The good news is that I do think that there is a unification issue in this state, and that, of course, is cost of living, specifically property insurance, taxes, and so on. Now that the governor is back, and we'll see if he even cares about this state. I doubt he does. But let's just see if there's anything that can be done. What is being done right now, because Tom Keene actually was on our show a few days before the election, which was great. And he mentioned that the two biggest issues that he was campaigning on that was receiving the most amount of support was women's bodily autonomy and property insurance. So is there anything that's being done in committees right now? And is there considerable crossover with the GOP to get something done for the state?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, you're 100% correct that struggles around class and income and cost of living transcend political lines, transcend cultural lines, and are a priority for every Floridian in this state. And the reality is that Republicans have made some of these situations worse, including property insurance, by supporting legislation that was purely written to benefit the industry leaders and not constituents. So with that said, more than 20, if not 30 bills have been filed intersecting property insurance from different, sides of the political aisle. Of course, one of my favorites are the ones that have actually attracted bipartisan interest. And I want to give a big shout out to Representative Spencer Roach. He's a Republican from Fort Myers. So he was
normally that is not my friend.
Wait for this. He's basically filed a public option private insurance bill. And it's actually prime code. Yeah. So it's prime code by Representative Hillary Cassell. So basically would create
we like Hillary.
So stay with me here.
Interesting combination, because I'm pretty sure Roach has been one of our bootlickers in the past.
I mean, crisis makes interesting bedfellows, right?
It does.
And I'm co-sponsoring this bill too, so it's very interesting. But remember, Representative Roach comes from Fort Myers, and he was directly impacted by the hurricanes. He actually lost power. He lost so much, and so he's actually been one of our stronger voices in challenging the insurance industry. And so this is a bill that the insurance industry hates, but it basically creates a public option under citizens for wind damage. Because the reality is that that's the most expensive part of your property insurance.
Right.
Also the most profitable for many insurance companies. So by providing an alternative just for that type of coverage, so you still purchase the rest of your coverage from a private company, but they're basically he's proposing to take away the highest risk option and back it by the state. Okay. So you can still get that coverage that you need, but then it spreads the risk because you'll have people purchasing it who live in different parts of the state. So not every one of us are as high risk as a Fort Myers or a South Florida. So it really is designed to mitigate the impact of, insolvency, right? Because you're not going to have everyone apply at the same time for reimbursements or for coverage. And the private sector can still provide all the other options, but it's not mandated, by the way, it's just an option for people to have. And so it's pretty, innovative. It's something that most Republicans will not support, but I was very happy to see that. And, again, one of those examples of how the economic issues can drive forces together, even folks who are historically, very much not aligned.
No, and it's good. And I'm glad to see that people are doing that at the state level, because I feel like at the federal level, they are just so tribal that it's almost impossible for those things to happen. It's so frustrating, but I appreciate that you guys are able to do that. I mean, and that's in all reality, that's how it's supposed to be. Like it shouldn't be, it's not supposed to be so difficult, and it's made difficult by corporate money and egos. And it's so frustrating because I feel like, do you ever want to just be like the grown-up in the room? I feel like, and you don't have kids yet, right?
No, I do not.
Right. But it's like, there's always that moment when someone has to be the grown-up. And I feel like there are so many times that I look at people in legislation and I'm like, what is wrong with you?
The sad reality is that Anna's the biggest adult in the room, in a room full of adults that are old enough to be your parents.
Eskamani 26.
And a last thing, one of the biggest issues that we do face that is definitely more partisan on the left than it is clearly on the right is the issue of public education in the state. Now, we all saw the crusade that Governor DeSantis went after.
Someone banned the dictionary.
Yeah, the student dictionary.
You banned the dictionary.
Yeah. Well, it had bad words in there. You want to protect it.
I'm sure it was like queer. It had to be queer or trans. These people are obsessed with genitals.
Well, which is also, they're just telling on themselves, but that's neither here nor there.
Obsessed with genitals.
Is there anything that's being done? One of the biggest issues, I always felt that if there was a defining issue between Gillum and DeSantis when they ran, is that if Gillum was able to get in, I do think something would have been done about the allocation of money to charter schools. I think that is definitely something that would have been worked on. Is there anything that is being worked on right now regarding public education?
Because it's a shit show.
Yeah, the siphoning of the money to these charter schools is an absolute disaster.
Well, some counties are worse than others, but it's a shit show.
Oh yeah,
right. I mean, Democrats have filed different policy proposals, including increasing wages for teachers and, of course, repealing some of these bad policies that have led to book banning. And so Representative Rayner actually filed a Freedom to Learn Act. And so we are providing that loyal opposition of here's what education policy should look like, right? But I'm sad to report, in the face of privatization, I don't think anything has really stopped. Now, there is what are being being defined as deregulation bills from the Senate that are trying to even the playing field for public education, for public schools to be competitive. Because the reality is that you've allocated all this public money to private schools, and then the actual public schools have all this red tape and requirements to follow that they don't have the nimbleness to compete with these private actors. Now, they might have better outcomes in what they deliver, but it comes at a huge cost because they have so many different expenses, whether it's safety requirements, testing requirements, obviously accreditation of teachers, so forth. Now, some of these requirements should stay because that's the reason why you choose public education, is you have a safety net of requirements. But some of the areas where there's been an expressed desire by school board members and FEA and others around testing, for example, are being removed in proposed legislation. So, for example, the requirement to pass a third grade assessment is being proposed as removed. And that's designed because, based on feedback from school members, tests don't always measure a child's success, and especially a child's graduation rate and so forth. Mm-hmm. So we do see legislation that's basically trying to eliminate some of outdated requirements on public schools. But I think there's also the concern that could degrade the quality of public education. So there's a balancing act here, but that is one of the large Senate priorities right now. And then when it comes to privatization, our office has actually been flooded with families that are facing issues when it comes to even accessing their vouchers. These are families with students with disabilities, so they've chosen the voucher as the best alternative for their families, and they're not getting reimbursed on things like transportation, their tuition. So our office has been working overtime and helping address that delay. Because the reality for us is, look, I voted against HB1. I don't think we should be allocating this money towards private schools. But if I have families in my district who are now facing delays,
right,
we want to make sure that they get what they signed up for and what the legislature said they would do. So we've been helping families in that situation. The other irony that I've experienced is some families were misinformed and think they can do both. They think they can go to a public school and get the voucher. And so once they found out, oh, no, wait, I have to leave my public school, I don't want to do that. So it's been a very interesting kind of unraveling of this policy. And, we'll definitely be on guard to see what happens again this legislative session.
Hang on tight. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Anna, if anybody wants to follow your work or get
follow your work,
yes,
where can we
please
follow your work, Anna?
Oh, well, thanks again so much for the invitation. You can follow us online. Anna for Florida is our handle on all social media accounts. Two N. So Anna for Florida on Instagram, Twitter. I will not call it X. It's still Twitter in my heart. Facebook and TikTok. And then our website's just annaforflorida.com.
Thank you so much for coming on. You're the best.
Really appreciate it.
We appreciate you very much. Keep up
fighting the good fight, my friend.
Thank you. Talk later.
Bye, Anna.
Definitely is
I love her.
Good an option as you're going to find in electoral politics. The problem is
that's a public servant.
She is the minority of minorities.
It's unfortunate.
That is not the normal makeup of a representative.
No.
And we have talked at length about
she's like a real person, but she's also extremely politically smart.
Extreme.
But it's just her nature. It's her nature. It's not an act. She's just that. She's going to have some. You know what it is? She's just a really nice person.
She is. And I think she would be exceptionally strong on the stump if she went statewide. I think that she is the type of person with the right energy and the right attitude to really corral people along. Mm-hmm. And she knows how to play to the normies, but her heart is with the left populace, 100%.
She's right. It's like they don't have enough people to be fighting amongst themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So she really, it's not worth it. I get that. And they're not, that we don't have that luxury in Tallahassee, but that's why it pisses me off all the more about, my rep.
And look, it's not surprising. She has been called the Florida AOC, but here's the thing. She's been in elected office. She wasn't just thrust into the position and then decided she was going to play one way and then another way. She's had tremendous
She's
experience.
Great. She's a really, really solid public servant.
Mm-hmm. And she has been, listen, they would love to get her out of there. But she's very popular in her district. And they know that they can't do that. And now that she has formed a very strong alliance with friend of the show, well, not friend of the show yet, but we'll see. We'll work that out at some point. Congressman Maxwell Frost, who has also done a pretty solid job, especially helping Tom Keene get over the finish line.
He's somebody who's like, he's a friend, but he can't necessarily have everyone know he's a friend.
Yeah. He's got to play.
He's more of a private friend.
You know, he's got to do what he's got to do, and I understand that. I think we all do. As long as he's not acting against our common interests,
right?
Which unfortunately is something that AOC was doing. For those of you who saw us on Status Quo, we covered the story about AOC.
She literally was like promoting Joe.
Yeah.
And basically went on, I can't watch it again, so don't bring it up because I'm not going to watch her do that again. It was horrible.
No.
But basically was saying like, look, you know, you don't have to like everything about a person to vote for them, as if, and saying it as if the Israel-Palestine thing was just this thing. Like it's just one thing. It's just one thing. It's so mind-blowing to me that she's able to sit there and do that. And no, it isn't just one thing. It's the thing. It's the thing. And it's so frustrating that she was saying it as if it was just one issue. Like, oh, well, we don't have to agree on everything. Oh, we don't have to agree. You know, okay, so he's committing genocide. Okay. Let's not overreact.
And so this is where it's a perfect transition. Colin, if you can cue up White Liberals 1, because we're going to want to stop and play.
Now, this is not real. This is a person like mocking this. Like this particular woman is an acting a comedian person.
Well, I don't know if I would say she's a comedian.
No, but she's doing this as a farce.
Yes.
Okay, she is not really that person.
No,
it's a character.
No, she's well, no, it's not even that. You'll see.
Okay.
You'll see. It's not, again.
I mean, I'll see, but I don't need to be.
You know, I have said many times before that the biggest impediment to success in the United States is white women in the suburbs.
We're a problem, people.
So white liberal women typically of upper middle class affluence.
You, Double K.
We really love you, Double K. Hard when you need a group to get along to pass legislation. It's true.
It's so true. And our Florida legislature, man, they're damn. And the few people that we do know in there fighting the good fight are really decent.
The unfortunate thing, and again, I don't know how much of this is actually an issue per se in the district that we are in. You know, we used to have in the congressional district, there was a sizable Zionist population in the North Miami part of where Jen comes from. And they're there.
Oh, they're there.
That's
where I'm from.
So if anything, the encouragement to put forward a useless bill that is only important to affluent people who don't have a fucking care in the world.
It's the thing.
It's something like
well, that's what bothers me the most about it when I'm talking about stuff like that with Anna, because it isn't so much whether or not I agree with your definition or don't agree with your definition. It's the fact that our legislators are spending their time and energy creating shit about stuff that doesn't even need to be part of their job purview. There's no reason why they have to be doing that. They say they're doing it to defend Jews against anti-Semitism. No, you're not. You're doing that to appease people like AIPAC and the ADL and your Zionist constituents. You are not doing it to prevent anti-Semitism. You're creating anti-Semitism by affiliating all Jews with a Zionist Nazi genocidal state. Okay? That's hurting us Jews. We're not them. Stop affiliating me with the friggin' Zio-Nazis.
It's the new word.
That's my new word.
That's the new word.
I have two new words, Zio-Nazi and Zio-shill.
Zio-Nazi and Zio-shill. So be it. Guys, we asked
Behold
you to support
the white liberal.
Yes, we asked you to support our channel. We asked you to support Status Quo. Please support Generational Change. You can go to Cash App if you don't want to get on the grid. But if you do, and you are so inclined, do make sure that you are able to get over to our Patreon.
See, this is where I always get.
I know.
But then I call the people Patreons instead of. But I don't think that's I mean, it's not like it's bad to call people Patreons instead of patrons.
Go to patreon.com/generational change. For as little as $5 a month, you can become a supporter of our small.
And I do call you Patreons.
You get the Lulu sticker.
You get the Lulu sticker. You get a note from Jen. You get to.
They want to talk to you.
If you want to talk to me.
You want to talk to Jen.
It's the only way that you can directly communicate with me is on Patreon.
You got to pay. Jen works hard for the money. So if you want to talk to her.
Like one of those girls behind the curtain and put in the money and I'll communicate with you.
Ooh.
Well, you know, my uncle had that at his place.
In San Francisco. Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah. Now all of San Francisco.
He had the pee-pee shows. Peep shows.
Peep shows?
It was peep shows.
It may have been pee-pee as it is. You know,
it's their peep shows.
Whatever goes on, to each their own. Not my business. Not my jam either. But if you donate $25, you get yourself the Gen Change jersey, tri-blend,
Or
silky
shoes.
smooth.
You can have it. We have
whichever one you
t-shirt or
want.
jersey. Your pet.
But show your team spirit for generational change. We are, yes, Donald. And guess what? None of the money gets siphoned to Google.
No, it goes. I mean, they get what they get, but it's not Google. I mean, I kind of feel
100%.
like, and it's you know what? All of them have their pros and cons. They do. Everybody's taking a cut. Everybody's taking a cut. Unless somebody puts a check in the mail, somebody's taking a cut.
Well, any and all, we love Double K. She's been a tremendous supporter of our show.
Yes.
Don't make her stand all by herself. Any amount of contribution that you guys can make.
It's all helpful.
Or,
but yeah, I mean, I'd rather it be.
Or you could be a YouTube member like our friend Dr.
Absolutely,
James is,
please.
or Tony.
All of it helps, guys.
All of it.
All of it helps.
Yep, it really does.
Whatever floats your boat. You like to be a member, you get the cute little stickers. I don't know how any of that works, but whatever floats your boat.
So
It's
we're gonna play a clip regarding this. What I think just kind of, this girl just kind of knocked it out of the park.
Okay. And who is this?
She isn't anybody.
Well, she's somebody. We should at least give her credit for what she's doing. Jesus.
Her name is Carissa, I think.
Okay, I'm just saying, give the girl credit.
Carissa
She put out
explains
something
nothing, and that's her
viral.
name. Well, no, sure, absolutely.
That's
but
based on that TV show, Closer
explains it all, of course. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
here we go.
Liberals. We say that we're not in a cult like MAGA, but then we'll dismiss any and all criticism of Joe Biden as Russian propaganda or voter suppression. We're white liberals. We use women's reproductive rights as a pawn, while ignoring that apparently the president can bypass Congress when it comes to funding a genocide, but not when it comes to codifying Roe v. Wade.
Yeah, that's true. The president has the authority to do a lot of things, including canceling student debt, including decriminalizing.
Oh, he could be doing
cannabis,
tons of stuff.
including expunging all nonviolent drug offenders.
I think he's doing some of that stuff, though. I do. I think he's been
on
working
very
the
small margins. I give him credit for doing,
on the
stuff.
cannabis front. But what's funny about it all, though, is that the same people. So she's talking about it like they use Roe versus Wade as a chip, which they do. The Democrats, that's their biggest one of their biggest fundraising things is Roe versus Wade. But those are also the same people, a lot of them, that have Ukrainian and or Israeli flags in their profile pictures and are supporting war and or genocide. So I find it interesting. So it's like you're the same people. They're not different people.
Here we go.
We're white liberals. We'll bully you and say that if you vote for anyone besides Biden, that you're voting for Trump, instead of helping you organize and find a different candidate that isn't a dictator or a genocider. We're white liberals. We'll tokenize anyone from underrepresented groups who are in favor of Biden, while encouraging you to ignore and block anyone else who might speak out against him. We're white liberals. We'll try to scare you into voting blue by reminding you about Project 2025 and the threat of fascism under Trump. Even though people
You have fascism right now. You have fascism right now.
Right. I don't understand how much more.
This is not.
He's just the fate. Again, I think he's just the cherry on top.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. He's just.
I can't get past. First of all, she's adorable. I love the whole ensemble. Okay. I want to know where she is. The snow is crunching beneath her feet. She's just, I love the whole thing. She's somewhere very cold.
People from underrepresented groups have told us that, despite its name, Project 2025 has been in motion since the 70s and 80s, and they already experienced fascism under Biden. We're white liberals. We'll gaslight others and ourselves into believing that life is significantly better under Biden, despite the fact that we're all struggling to feed our families and pay our bills. We're white liberals. We'll act as saviors to marginalized communities, but we'll also blame them if Biden loses and tell them they can deal with the consequences of that, usually in graphic detail.
I mean, if that's not the truth, where they're basically telling you, you have to vote for Joe, it's not going to suck for us if Trump wins, but it'll suck for you. You want to, I mean, how much more?
Well, but that's the truth. It will suck for them, and it doesn't suck for the rich people because they don't care either way whether it's Trump or not. It doesn't matter.
Because for them, it's all about the feeling.
Well, for the rich people, it doesn't matter because their wallets are padded regardless of Biden or Trump. Like for the people that are in the top, it doesn't matter who the president is. Why do they care?
Not at all.
The truth is, it doesn't matter to anybody because the people at the bottom don't have time for this shit. They're trying to live.
Yeah, real.
We're white liberals. We'll feign concern for Palestinians, but we won't actually watch the raw footage of them being attacked and unalived en masse. We're white liberals. We'll talk down to people of color and pretend like we know what's best for them, even though the wall's still being built and Cop City's still going up. We're white liberals. We'll watch tone-deaf Instagram posts made by our leaders and dismiss the thousands of comments streaming in demanding a ceasefire and just say that they're Russian bots. We're white liberals. We will talk over people in marginalized communities instead of listening to them and trusting their lived experiences. We're white liberals. We'll be recognized as Person of the Year for giving the economy a boost with our concert sales while staying silent in the face of a genocide and
I think you all know who she's talking about. Now, we have talked about this. Do I think that Taylor should say something? I mean, look, it depends on, how much you really
Is that
think.
who she's talking about? I wasn't really hearing like that point that she was making, and I wasn't really paying attention to that.
All I can say is, Taylor, I got nothing against your music. I think you probably inspire millions upon millions of people, especially young women, and try to give a positive image, and that's great. But I really, really don't want to see you in the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is already a spectacle of all-time spectacles. It doesn't need the spectacle of you and Travis Kelce getting married at the 50-yard line at halftime. We don't need that.
No, I have no problem with her. I couldn't care less one way or the other about Taylor.
But I understand what she's saying, because unfortunately, the voices that do need to be speaking up, like the AOCs of the world, like not just a one-time
I only
statement.
have one person that I really wish was speaking up and isn't saying anything.
Bruce Springsteen? I was just kidding.
No, you know who.
Yeah, but the point is, I understand the need to feel like you need to have some type of a hero that is going to step up and do something, because, as I said, somebody like Alex, who has the platform to do something, just makes a statement, which was positive. However, you can't take your foot off the gas pedal, because the Deborah Messings of the world are going to keep it on accelerator as hard as possible.
Yeah, but I don't think it's Taylor Swift. I mean, I don't know. I just don't think that that's her problem. I really don't. It's not like she's doing anything contrary. I mean, and then when people get involved, we tell them to shut up and dribble. So it's kind of like, what do you want? I don't put that on her. My one person that I really wish was speaking out was Clooney. Right. And I think that's somebody who would be able to have a really strong voice in this.
I agree. And unfortunately,
I know
he's an even bigger coward than I thought, because his wife came out and made a statement that was as pathetic as anything I've ever seen.
What did she say?
She just basically said, "Oh, it's terrible what's happening." And
that's really all Amal said?
That's all she said.
Oh, my God.
So it really just goes to show you that the only
reason
reason she didn't say anything is because of her husband. That she does not.
I don't know. It's so weird, though.
They don't want to risk their position. That's it.
But this is all right, I guess.
Actively destroying the environment with our private planes. We're white liberals. We like to say that we'll hold our own to account, but then we'll just ignore and justify it when our own leader is complicit in war crimes. We're white liberals. We'll put BLM in our bios while simultaneously condemning another country's resistance group that was born out of an unlawful and violent occupation.
Well, if that ain't true, I don't know what is.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's like, does Israel have the right to defend itself? No, actually, not in that case. Well, yes. Unfortunately, we're seeing the farce that international law actually is. We have no democracy, Tony. There's no democracy. That shit went out the door. I don't know that we ever did, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. But I lost you can't do that to.
I'm sorry,
because now I've totally lost my train of thought.
I think the fact that she really brought up the fact that you've got these people who are the biggest Biden supporters that have the Ukraine and Israeli flag in their bio, but they claim that Black Lives Matter. The level of hypocrisy.
Oh, now I remember the whole, do you condemn Hamas?
Do you condemn
Hamas?
Well, do you?
Actually, no.
You're terrible.
I know. But not only that, but it's so absurd to me how they keep doing that and thinking it's going to just keep working, and it's just not working anymore. And the thing is that if people care so much about it's funny to me, people have no right in this whole realm to talk about international law. Israel's been in violation of international law since 1967. Israel has no interest in international law. Because of Israel, we don't even participate in the International Criminal Court. We pulled ourselves out of that because, they actually wanted to, discipline Israel for, apartheid stuff. And so so international law means nothing to these people. So when people say, does Israel have the right to defend itself? Maybe if Israel were wanting to participate in international law, we could have that discussion, but they don't. So screw you. But let's say hypothetically, we were going to have that discussion. Actually, international law provides that an occupier does not have the right to self-defense when acted upon by the occupied. Okay, so this isn't the same as two sovereign nations wherein a country would have the right to defend itself. So when the Zionists say that, ask you, does Israel have a right to defend itself? The answer is no, actually they don't in this case. And who would give them that right? Would that be the same international body of law that they ignore in every other regard? You don't get to claim rights when you don't handle your responsibilities. I am so tired of any sort of like person claiming about Israel's rights. Israel doesn't have a right to exist. No country has a right to exist.
And if you need
That's
any
not
more,
a thing.
and if you need any more proof about what's really going on in Gaza right now, here's your proof.
במשך 30 שנה אני מאוד עקבי, ואני אומר דבר פשוט. הסכסוך הזה הוא לא על היעדר מדינה, מדינה פלסטינית, אלא קיומה של מדינה, מדינה יהודית. כל שטח שאנחנו מפנים, אנחנו מקבלים שם טרור, וטרור נורא נגדנו. זה קרה בדרום לבנון, זה קרה ברצועת עזה, וזה קרה ביהודה ושומרון כשעשינו את זה, בקטעים מיהודה ושומרון. ולכן אני מבהיר, בכל הסדר בעתיד הנראה לעין, עם הסדר, בלי הסדר, מדינת ישראל חייבת לשלוט ביטחונית על כל השטח מערבית לירדן.
Well, he did say from the river to the sea. And you know what that means.
Netanyahu has always been insistent that Israel needs to be in complete control of everything from the West Bank of the Jordan.
That's good, Don. Very good.
Yeah, Netanyahu. Actually, yeah, that's pretty.
There will not be a two-state solution.
But there never was going to be one. So in all reality, that is true. He just also happens to be a genocidal maniac. Here's the thing. Countries don't have rights. People have rights. Countries have obligations to serve their people. Okay. So when we say rights, and this is something, and this is where I'll get all law nerdy on you. Okay. Rights are granted by an entity, whether in our case, in this country, it's our constitution. It's, in different countries, it's whatever their governing body is, whatever. Those are things that grant rights. Rights don't just fall out of the sky and land on us. Like nobody, nobody has just rights. Like if we didn't have countries and we just all existed in like our natural state, we don't have rights. We just be, right? So rights. So no, I don't believe that any country has a right to exist. I believe that all people have the right to self-determination. And in order for people to have self-determination, they need to be able to govern themselves. And when you deny people their ability to govern themselves, now you're invading on their individual rights. So it isn't so much that I think that Palestine has a right to exist. I don't think Palestine has a right to exist. I think Palestinian people have a right to have self-determination. See what I'm saying? People have rights. Countries have obligations. So I want to clarify that. So when Jewish people say, does Israel have the right to exist? And I say no, I also don't think our country has a right to exist. Who's giving us that right? Is it the mythical sky being? Is it international law because we don't abide by it? I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like it has nothing to do with rights. That's my point.
Well, Chris, you're wrong about countries being people. It's corporations are people,
right,
as defined by law today in Citizens United.
Well, actually, right, but that's Chris's point, right? Our countries people. Well, right. I mean, that's the thing. So when we say free Palestine, for me, it's more free Palestinians.
Yes, that is correct.
Because I don't care what you call it, right? I don't care what you call the land. I don't care what you name it. I don't care whatever. It's people are being abused, violated, genocided, and ethnically cleansed, and they need to be not. So I don't care what you call it. So free those people, give them self-determination. And that I believe everybody has a right to. So that's the thing.
Guys, if you haven't subscribed and clicked the bell for our channel, it would be tremendously appreciated. We really, really appreciate any and all support that you do give to our channel. And also, if you do want to contribute, that is certainly appreciated as well.
Metal, that's not true. Stop picking on the immigrants. I implore you to stop picking on the immigrants.
I thought Mike makes right. Is that
for the love
true?
of all that is holy, even if I were to concede all of that stuff, just stop picking on the immigrants. They are so not the cause of our problem.
Yeah,
and you are wrong that people
pickets.
coming across that way aren't seeking asylum. That's just silly. That's just silly. It's a mixed bag of stuff. You know, when you've got people that are coming from Haiti that are coming through that border and other countries that it's not people just coming from Mexico, it's coming from places like Haiti. Yeah, their lives suck and they're seeking something better. So just stop picking on the immigrants. I'm begging you to stop picking on the immigrants.
In case anybody's paying attention, and we all know that you have, and we'll bring our conversation full circle. Governor DeSantis did drop out of the presidential race and he endorsed the Donald.
We don't have to watch that again. I cannot watch him. Guys, if you haven't seen DeSantis' speech, I swear to you, it's like there is somebody standing behind the camera going, okay, smile. Mm-hmm. Like it is the most robotic. I honestly, whoever your media coach is, I feel sorry for them. I do, because I see what you're working with. I see you. I see you, really media coach. There's nothing there to work with. Oh my God, it was horrible.
But now there is going to be a primary tomorrow, the New Hampshire primary, even though it feels so unceremonious at this point.
It's so stupid. I mean, no offense to New Hampshire, and I love New Hampshire actually, but it's so silly because, okay, obviously it's Trump because it's Trump. And then the Democrats aren't even counting any of the delegates. So even the fact that there's Democrats even campaigning in New Hampshire is absurd to me, waste of money. The DNC has said they're not counting those delegates. So what the hell are you doing? You're having a pretend primary. I feel like Marianne Williamson and Dean Phillips are having a tea party.
We do have to do this clip for our channel, so it's just important that people know where we stand on this. Colin, can you cue up the clip from before with AOC and the two?
No, I can't.
Stepford wives.
I can't watch this again.
There they are.
Please don't make me watch this again.
I think it's just important that you guys realize that
it's so bad.
This is what Alex has become. It's unfortunate that this is the road that she has chosen to take.
The choicest part.
People have said that this is essentially who she's always been. This is not a surprise. It's not a mask off. She got the brass ring. She's in a district that she simply cannot lose.
Just play that beginning part. We cannot watch this whole thing again. I cannot.
Had it or hit it, Joe Biden.
Hit it.
What does that even mean? Had it or hit it? So first of all, if had it means I've had enough of Joe Biden. Okay, yeah, you know what? I've had enough of Joe Biden. Hit it, Joe Biden?
I know a lot of people that would like to hit Joe Biden.
You mean like,
but no, they're trying to be so trendy thing. Like I would hit that. Like they're trying to be all like trendy and cool, like he's based or whatever. And this brings me back to like when Kyle referred to him as based and when I unsubscribed.
You mean this guy? This is
come
here,
God.
See? Come on, man.
No, that was when I stopped following Kyle when he referred to Joe as based. I'm like, I cannot.
Based.
She's like, yeah, hit that. She is now a cheerleader, but I cannot watch her squirm with this again. It's suffocating.
Please. You know, honestly, here's the thing. I think sometimes people want electoral politics to be, we overly identify with it's like, if you vote for someone, they have to be the embodiment of you. And that's actually something that I think Donald Trump provided to a lot of people, so where it's like, if you voted for him and if you were a Donald Trump person, like you want, like it symbolized so much. But I think what we have here in this situation is a more just honest thing. There are plenty of things that the president does that I completely disagree with. I think, right now what's happening in Gaza, I can't go on every single day seeing this. I don't associate myself with what's happening.
So if you do not like seeing what's happening in Gaza, then what are you going to do about it?
But the fact that she's using what we say all the time, which is, you don't need to agree with somebody on everything. We say that all the time. You don't need to agree with somebody on everything to support them and think they would do a good job. But the fact that she's equating genocide to just agreeing with a thing, like as if it's just one issue, and making it be the argument that we make when it comes to, like, say, somebody like Andrew Yang or someone where we might not agree with on all stuff, but we know would generally use sound judgment, like that kind of concept. And she's making genocide be like, it's just a thing. And I this whole thing disgusts me.
Imagine how Rashida Tlaib feels, knowing that she's basically been left in the cold by this woman who has the ability with her platform to be almost Taylor Swift-esque in her reach. As she is definitely the equivalent of Taylor Swift when it comes to political reach of
It's
somebody
so
who is not Donald Trump. There's no question that if AOC wanted to be a lightning rod for this issue and make it front and center, that they could not ignore it, that they would have to go after her, and that people would have to be backing AOC up, at some point you got to fight. It's either fight or flight. And she's choosing to fight like a flick. And that is a joke. And
It's
this
so
moment,
unfortunate.
it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable because there is no coming back from this.
She's sitting there and propping up Joe Biden and dismissing a genocide as if it's a policy issue that we just don't agree on.
But at the end of the day, we have to acknowledge that we just can't allow this fascist movement to grow in this country. And what I think is actually hopeful about our politics is that we can exist outside of electoral politics in organizing our communities and standing with our friends. And, you know, if it's coming down to this next election, for me personally, the decision to vote is not a difficult one for me, because just because I'm voting for him doesn't mean that he embodies everything about me.
Right.
So that to me is where I'm at. But I think, you know, it's people are going to get mad on the internet because that's what they do. But I think we just got to be adults about the situation.
Stop it, please, please, please.
What in God's name is she talking
That's
about?
like, she's like Jill Biden. Jill Biden, we just got to suck it up. We just have to suck it up. Hold our noses. Are you kidding me?
To make a really good point, AOC, why don't you follow Anna Eskamani and see what a real representative looks like?
No, it's like she just said we need to be adults. That's the equivalent of like the Sarah Silverman thing. You guys grow up because we didn't get on with Hillary. Grow up. That level of condescension will not serve you.
Well, not only that, but think of it this way. Think of it this way.
Be an adult.
She's making this statement about, first of all, the statement alone is insane, that we just need to be adults about the fact that Joe Biden is literally committing a genocide. There is no question whatsoever about what this is. Again, we're just starting to, everyone is stuck on the number of like 22,000, 23,000. No, it's close to 33,000 now that we know about.
I don't think it's got to be so much higher.
And so
children are dying of heart attacks.
But if you think that that's the worst of her
children
statement,
are having cardiac arrest.
If that's the worst, you know what's even worse? The optics of this. Look at where she is and look at who she's talking to.
She's talking to a couple of Barbie dolls.
A couple of Barbie
and
dolls.
giggling about that we should just, somebody needs to be an adult and we shouldn't have to like everything that someone does.
This is also being done. If you don't know anything, guys, if you know the bare minimum about podcasting, here's what I can assure you. This studio that these women are working out of right now, that was set up specifically for them with that high-def TV, those high-def mics, their high-def setup, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars that was spent on setting up this studio for these two primitive Karens in the suburbs that want you to believe that they're fighting the good fight for things that really matter.
Yes.
This is such bad optics for AOC. That may be the worst part of all of this.
It looks like Suzanne Somers' infomercial or QVC.
This is so bad. This is an image that, remember, they often say people don't remember what people say, but they'll remember how they made you feel. How do you feel seeing AOC when it comes to very pressing times, sitting down with them? She's not even going to sit. She's not going to sit down with us.
No, but she goes on places like The View. I mean, that's her.
She's not going to sit down with Jordan Chariton. You know who else she's not even going to sit down with? She's not even going to sit down with Crystal and Sagar. And they are about as close to that mainstream buffer line that you can get to, where they are fighting the good fight, but are still mainstream to a degree. She wouldn't even sit down with them. So to me, that speaks a lot about where she's at now.
It's just so disappointing.
Who are you talking to? You think that these two women, with all due respect, and I'm not, you're not supposed to judge on looks, but
you always do that.
But if I'm judging on looks, I can tell that these two women would never push back on her, would never have anything to offer to the conversation.
No, I mean, no, that's the reason she's willing to go on and talk with them, because she knows they're not going to say anything.
Let's finish it up.
Does the Democratic Party have a backup plan between now and November should Joe Biden fall prey to some sort of medical emergency that you're aware of? And I think as a voter, it's a very reasonable question to ask considering his advanced age.
I think it's a super reasonable question to ask. I do not know, to be honest. I think what people tend to look at is just line of succession in terms of the job itself. But it is something that I think is a reasonable question to ask. If something like that does or were to happen, because there is not a primary, I do believe it would go to the convention. I think this is the biggest disconnect, I'd say, between the Beltway and like everyday people. But it also cuts to this question of, I think a lot of people think who can beat Trump. And that's a largely untested assumption too.
Right.
There's a lot of like,
I am so sick of
this
that
idea that
you talking. I am so sick of as if Trump is the thing we have to be most scared of. No, we're living with what we should be most scared of.
The fact that Trump is the leading candidate by far to get into the White House at the end of this year, shouldn't that tell you something about the state of affairs?
And here's the thing. When you scared us into voting for Joe in 20 by saying that we can't have Trump again, you've now had 4 years to do something that shows that there was a value added to that. And you've done, in fact, it's worse. It's worse on environment. It's worse on foreign affairs. It's just worse. So how do you stand there screaming that we should be scared of Trump?
The problem is that they were able to convince you, or at least so we thought, in 2020. And in their eyes, Trump, in their mind, is the greatest thing that ever happened. They think that they can get away with in broad daylight, mind you, every nefarious thing that the corrupt DC Beltway has been used to getting away with forever and ever and ever. And now it's just out in public. And they want us to be mad at Trump because Trump has committed crimes that they're all committing.
Right. No, be very clear. We don't like him.
But again,
he's disgusting.
That to me is a greater problem than people are even willing to acknowledge. And you know what, JD Party has?
Of course
Trump's going to win Florida.
Not only he's going to win bigly.
He's totally going to win bigly in Florida. And when he wins bigly in Florida, you know what that means? That means that the GOP is not going to have to allocate tens of millions of dollars into this state.
They're going to put it everywhere.
They're going to put it in Georgia. They're going to put it in Arizona, and they're going to put it in Pennsylvania, because right now it looks like they're not even going to have to put it in Michigan. So don't explain how these things are going to change.
Michigan, to me, this is just, I don't see him coming back from this in Michigan.
And another thing that's a very telltale sign that I think a lot of people should recognize, and again, I'm not a forensic, analyst or anything like that. Look at how AOC sits in that chair. Look at how she constantly is fumbling over her words, and that's a person who doesn't really know what to say and isn't really aware of what to say that would make it seem reasonable to the average listener. Now, maybe to that crowd that she's speaking to, it seems reasonable. But
certain people, like people that watch certain types of shows, they purposefully do keep things. I mean, most things are at a 5th grade level, and that's for the masses. And when you write for the masses, as somebody who went to journalism school, that's basically where you are. You write at a 5th grade level. And so she likes to keep it at that. And that's, it's sad to me because I do think that she was capable of doing more.
I think she is capable of doing more.
But she clearly doesn't want to. She clearly doesn't want to. I'm sad about that.
If she wasn't caught up in the life, it's one thing if she goes on with a podcast that has a reach that is of note. If you're going on with a podcast with women that look like that, you've lost the plot. You don't have to cater to that crowd.
It's just so frustrating. No, but that's just easy. It's an easy win for her. That's why.
I don't know how it's a win at all.
No, in terms of being any sort of PR, any sort of name, putting your name out there, getting any sort of supporters, making friends with some new people that'll donate next time, whatever it is, whatever her motive is for that particular audience, she's only going to go somewhere that's safe. But people like her, people like Jamal, it's like they're losing any sort of, and I hate saying things like progressive cred, but they really, it's done. Like, I don't see how she can come. I don't see how they're going to come back from this.
The other problem that we have to remember is when you see things like this, and Don, we're not talking about canceling AOC. That's not what we're saying.
No.
But what you have to remember is that when she conducts herself this way, at a time where Donald Trump is probably already looking at drapes for the White House.
Yeah, no, this is exactly.
Like, you have to understand that if you don't take a bold stand, you might as well take it, because the odds are Trump's getting back in there.
And
anyway.
she is somebody that has the leeway to do so because of how safe she really is.
Yeah.
But that aside, she talks about, I find that interesting that she's talking about the importance of doing things outside of electoral politics, but yet she doesn't show up at picket lines. So what does that look like? I mean, when you say we're going to do things outside of electoral politics, but from the comfy seat of your elected position that you don't step outside
You're
of.
not willing to challenge the establishment.
I don't understand what you're suggesting. So you're basically saying everybody in the communities needs to help themselves, which we know community aid is very important because that's where we are. But I see it as ironic that she's talking about outside of electoral politics, but yet I've never seen her on a picket line.
Jimmy, I agree with you, and here's why I agree with you. When you're living on $175,000, I think it's $174,000 a year. The point is that she's giving at least 40% of that back.
And she also has to have a place to be in DC, and she has to have a place in New York. And the truth is that we all know that's not what it used to be. No. I mean, so no, she shouldn't ever be. The truth is that nobody that is being in public service should ever complain about anything.
No.
Ever.
And
no matter whatever you're making.
And AOC drives a Tesla.
That's again.
So, but again, if you think that if you want to live a life of luxury, if you want to have these,
don't be the public servant.
And another thing, it's again, you can argue that the Tesla is not the most ostentatious item, and I agree, it's not. It's a luxury item. There's no two ways about it. However, she lives in an exceptional apartment building in one of the nicest neighborhoods in DC. She does not have to live there, and she doesn't have to spend that kind of money on a place to live. She chooses to do that because she wants the life.
And here, let me be very clear. I don't begrudge anybody that. If she can afford to do that, and that's her life child choice, that's her. That doesn't bother me at all. Let me be very clear. I don't care how much money they're making. Our state reps make like nothing here. They make like nothing. But if you're doing public service, then shut your mouth. You don't complain about it. Nobody's making you do that. So if you don't like what you're making and it's not enough for you to live the lifestyle to which you want to become accustomed to, then don't do that job. I find it extremely angering that people in public service complain about how little they make. As far as I'm concerned, you shouldn't make anything.
Well, let's not be
I think people
obvious.
I think people should get a stipend for when they're there during legislative session.
I understand what you're saying. So expensive or whatever.
No.
But they get that anyway.
Well,
they get that anyway.
For me, it should not be this. It's not a full-time job for most of them. Some of them, I'm sure it is. Some of them come home to their districts and do stuff and work. I guess. I don't know.
That's cute. I don't even care what they said, and I'm going to pay attention to it. If
they're still talking about us from something from like 3 years ago, it's so funny.
The funny thing about them is that
we live rent-free in their head.
Compton Jay is the only guest we ever had to kick off our show. And the fact is, he has a real political hard-on for Jen.
I don't know why.
So when he was coming up with a list
it's so weird.
The absolute worst people in left politics not to trust, he gave two names.
It's so weird.
Crystal Ball and Jen Perlman.
Like, he really hates me. It's very weird. I live rent-free in their head. But and to me, anybody, when you affiliate in those kinds of circles with people that it's just are out to just cause problems and be fighting. Like, I really don't get it, like why they're like that with me. And here's the thing, more importantly, I really don't care.
They hate white people, and that's okay. If that's what they choose.
I don't look. Hey,
that's their business.
Not only that, but I don't blame them. I don't have a problem with that.
But if you think that Jen is your enemy,
yeah, that's what's weird.
You got a problem.
I'm in a garage. You know what I'm saying? We make a few $100s a month between Patreon and Google. Like, you know, I am not the cause or the source of somebody's woes.
No, but
you know what I mean? Like, so to have, they obviously, but it's weird. It's like they have such an issue with me, and it's so strange. I don't know what. It's weird a little bit. I don't feel like I've done anything so worthy of that level of ire.
No, and it's very
so strange.
No, and I got to tell you, it's borderline stalkerish because
it's a little weird.
They constantly talk about it, and there's never an interaction. We never address them. We never talk about them. They can do whatever they want if they're furthering the message that is important when it comes to what we're doing. Fine. You know, Jen lives in the burbs. But Jen doesn't have tens of millions of dollars to her name.
No.
And you think that
my husband's a doctor. I live a nice life. That's true. And probably, you know, I'm sure most people would find it to be at a certain level and whatever that is.
This is why you love Metalopoly.
Yeah, the caucasity.
Yes.
No, but the thing is that I totally acknowledge that I have privilege. My goal is to lend my privilege. I don't deny having privilege. I've never denied having privilege. What pisses them off about me, I think, is that I am openly willing to say I understand my privilege, but I'm not going to not enjoy it. Like, sure. I didn't take a vow of poverty. Like what Nina said.
Our friend Nina Turner, you know who she is, said, I am for the working class left, but I did not take a vow of poverty. Right. And nobody should.
Right. But like the way they talk about me, I'm so nefarious. It's so weird. I swear to you, I wish that I had as much power as they must think that I have to be so concerned with me. It's so weird.
Ronwell, I don't know what this Never Nikki stuff is. If it's Nikki...
no, they're meaning Nikki Haley.
Nikki Haley. I think that's what you mean.
Well, she's just a complete warmonger.
Yeah.
A complete warmonger.
Listen, I am waiting for the moment when Hillary Clinton comes out and says you should vote for Nikki Haley in the Republican primary. Like want that to happen.
They're the same person. To me, her and Hillary is 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
And listen, every once in a while, Tulsi Gabbard.
Nikki Haley's more attractive.
Every once in a while, Tulsi Gabbard gets it absolutely right, and she made a statement the other day saying that much like Hillary Clinton and Liz Cheney, Nikki Haley, who did not serve this country, always has to prove just how tough she really is. And those are the worst people to put in positions of power because they really don't understand what it means to not be hawkish.
Well, and actually that's something, and I've said that before, I actually do like the idea of having presidents that have served. I think that when you're the commander in chief, that's a good thing.
You're absolutely right.
You know, I think it gives a very important perspective to someone who's the commander in chief to have served, and specifically someone that's served in any sort of combat situation. And we don't see that now. You know, we don't see that anymore. And I think that is something that I do not think is a coincidence.
I will tell you this, Michael, and Trump will win tomorrow, but Nikki is probably going to have a good showing now that DeSantis is out of the race. Is it going to be 10 points? Is it going to be 20 points? I don't know. But
Trump's winning. It's done.
Trump will win. But will it be close enough where she's going to continue to hang around?
Well, she wants to go to South Carolina.
Now, absolutely. Now, I will tell you this. If Trump wins by more than 60% of the vote tomorrow, there will be extremely loud calls for Nikki to drop out. But if she loses by 10 points, 12 points, she'll keep going.
Well, and the truth is she could do well in South Carolina. I mean, she was the governor of South Carolina.
Even though Senator Tim Scott, not Rick Scott. Tim Scott is definitely not anywhere near as bad as Rick Scott. But
he's also not good.
Senator Tim Scott came out and endorsed Donald Trump.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he did. So there you go.
Okay. So that's still, but she would do better there than anywhere else. She'll do better in South Carolina.
Who's Lindsey Graham going to endorse? That's what I want to know.
Trump. He's ultimately a bootlicker. At the end of the day, he is a bootlicker.
Oh, that's for sure. That's what he likes.
He's one of the biggest bootlickers.
No, I don't think Nikki Haley is less competent than
No,
Trump.
I think she's very competent.
Infinitely, which is what makes her worse and more dangerous.
Yeah. No, I think Nikki Haley is exceptionally competent. In fact, as to between even Joe or Trump, or she's the most competent person that's in that close.
I will 100% say in defense of Donald Trump, his instinct is not to go to war.
That's true.
And that is probably the best thing that I can say about
that is true.
Who the next president of the United States is going to be, because right now, for all intents and purposes, it is either going to be Donald Trump or Joe Biden. Of course, Nikki Haley, they would hope to install her if they could. I did not. We can do that. I do think that is definitely plausible. I also think that it is likely that as more into the election season that we go, and the more that this carries on, the more I think somebody like Cornel West is going to garner momentum. Now, will he get on the ballot is the key. Now, somebody who is on the ballot is Jill Stein on the Green Party ticket, and a new poll just came out in the state of Michigan. Jill Stein has 6% of the vote.
Nice.
So it just goes to show you that there isn't.
They'll blame her for why Joe Biden loses Michigan.
Is it
oh
this,
my God,
is it this election cycle? I don't know. But I can assure you that the electoral system in this country, it's going to change. Because eventually enough people are going to demand it that they won't be able to hold it off.
It's not a bad pick.
Probably not.
That's actually pretty smart.
It is.
That's actually a pretty smart pick.
I think so.
Yeah.
And they'll destroy him for it, but you know what? Who cares? Now, why do I think it's possible that Steve Grossman, new friend of the show, love to have you here, why Tim Scott as a VP pick is not far-fetched? I'll tell you why. Because there's been rumors floating around for a very long time that much like his counterpart, Lindsey Graham, Tim Scott is actually gay. Now, why is that a big deal? Well, it just so happens that he has a girlfriend for a little while, and he just proposed to her the other day, and she said yes. Of all the times that you're going to do it, you do it right now.
Are you looking to be a VP selection?
I'm just putting it out there.
Well, that is something that does tend to happen. We had that here in our state with
you know them.
Yeah.
So
certain people.
Again, appearances are important, even though the sanctity of marriage doesn't mean anything at that level.
A beard is going to beard, people. Beards are going to beard.
But I'm totally not a beard. I just like a lot of different women. That's
no,
all it is.
no. The beard is. Do you not know what a beard is?
I know what a beard is. You don't have to. You really think I don't know?
You clearly don't.
I know what a beard is.
Okay, what is it?
It's a shield. Let's leave it.
Okay, but my point is that that's what these people do because they're so in the closet. Yes, and guys, look, I say it all the time. I'm a Cornel West supporter. That is where my monthly donations go. I support him. I support his message. I support his campaign. And as far as his campaign succeeding for me, every place he goes and spreads his message is what I'm supporting. Okay, so I'm going to support Cornel West. Now, whether or not he gets on my ballot in Florida is another story. Now, I personally will most likely vote green, given the current scenario, if Dr. West is not on my ballot in Florida. That's what my second pick would be Dr.
Keep
Stein.
in mind, to all of the Democratic sycophants that are out there, this state is going red.
Yeah, it doesn't. Just give it up.
So don't even try it.
No, seriously, you're wasting your time.
Vote your conscience, which is what people should do.
And hope that somebody gets 5%.
If Ron DeSantis beats Charlie Crist by 20 points, Donald Trump, hear me now, quote me later, will beat Joe Biden by at least 10 points.
At least.
So don't play into this idea that somehow there's going to be a great rally, if you will, towards Joe Biden in the state. Not happening.
Oh, don't get me started on that bitch.
I do think that it's very likely as well. I think that she is certainly a likable choice. But again, Trump is going to do it from a political calculus standpoint. Now, I will say this about Stefanik. She has been on the Trump train since day one. And
she's been a nice little loyal foot soldier.
100%.
I'd like to have a nice discussion with her.
I think you'd like to have a cat fight with her.
I think that she is somebody that I would ask to step outside and say, we need to have a few words, because I find her disgusting. I find her, she's up there with our rep. The only difference is she's also a Trump bootlicker. So that just adds that to her thing.
Our resident conservative,
also,
I think his VP is either Kristi Noem or Vivek Ramaswamy. Now, here's the thing.
We should have a pool.
I think Vivek is 100%.
How do we do that? I don't understand how
I'm not sure we can think of something.
We need to have a pool.
The issue with Kristi Noem, and I really mean this, Kristi Noem is as white as white can possibly be.
But she's a woman.
Yeah. They got to. She is also a loyal Trump foot soldier. I can see Kristi Noem probably more so because she's got that whole almost like antebellum South thing going on.
My thing about him choosing Vivek is that Vivek is too charismatic and young and appealing. And I don't think Trump would have another man on his ticket that he thinks would outshine him.
Rachel wants to know you have a supporter in your corner.
You would hold my earrings. Well, that's sweet.
You're not wearing you're not wearing your Here Comes the Sun earrings.
I'm not. Well, I bought those sun earrings. No, I don't always wear them, but I do love my Here Comes the Sun earrings. And sometimes I have butterfly
Metal,
earrings.
what I mean is that she doesn't have
she's not pulling in any other audience.
She's not pulling in any other audience to be the governor of South Dakota. You're
right.
Well, what are you doing?
She's not bringing.
When
you pick running mates, Metal, the strategy is you're pulling in a different audience and a different crowd from who your primary candidate can get. So are you going to bring in the black vote? Are you going to bring in Southerners? Are you going to bring in the Midwest?
She's a Pam.
Yeah. But so when you look at a very white woman from a place like that state that's like the middle of nowhere, all we're saying is it's not enough of she's not bringing enough people to the party to make her a worthy running mate pick. You got to bring in your own people.
Now, one of the reasons why I think Noem is definitely in the what I would consider be probably the top 5 is because she is much more of a behind the scenes leader than Elise Stefanik is. Elise Stefanik wants the brass ring.
I want to talk to her.
She wants that. She wants power like nobody's business. And I tell you, if she's she and I would be having a discussion like in the synagogue parking lot. She is something. Now, she's not Jewish. She married Jewish, but she
seems to take up that banner really nicely.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Convert.
Therein lies is where, what is the Donald going to do? I don't know what the Donald's going to do.
But here's what's so interesting. Wait, before you do that, can I please say something?
No, you can't say anything. I'm here.
No, I'm saying what I'm going to say. It's interesting because if you believe, and this would be specifically for Stefanik or whatever her name is. Okay, so if you believe that Judaism is such that it's a religion wherein you can convert to join it, okay, and that is what you obviously have done if you married a Jewish person, and if you whether or not you officially converted. But so, like, if religion is the thing that you can just adopt like that, then it's not an ethnicity.
Did you know that my daughter married a Jew?
Yes, but so if it's not an ethnicity and it's not a people, and it's not an ethnicity, then why would it need a state?
I just wanted to come on.
And more importantly,
excuse me.
Shush. More importantly, if you think that Jews are an ethnicity, then why would you waste your time converting to something that you never can be?
Let me explain something to
we
all
reject
of you.
you.
I just wanted to come on here and let everybody know how it's going to go when I pick my VP. It's going to be just like my TV show.
Oh my God! You're gonna have them all come on and audition.
I'm gonna have an apprentice-like VP selection. They're all going to take on some.
Oh my God, that would be so hilarious, guys. The VP. Oh my God, you should have them doing challenges.
We're going to have some really great challenges. It's going to be wonderful, and it's going to draw incredible ratings.
Make them eat disgusting things like Fear Factor.
I think that's a great idea.
I know.
See
how much they're willing to eat. See if they're willing to eat shit for you.
I'm going to go on.
You need loyalty.
I'm going to go on Joe Rogan. Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
I know, but you got to make sure somebody's willing to eat a roach for you.
If we're going to make America great again in 24, I'm going to go on the podcast with Mr. Rogan.
Oh my God, he could totally host. He was the Fear Factor host.
We'll have a great conversation, and we're going to get everybody into the ring, and they're going to fight for my love, and they're going to fight. Oh my God,
hard. I think that would be so funny for you to have a show called The VP.
And this will totally this will get a lot more ratings than these stupid primaries. So look at how much I'm winning by. And tomorrow,
I got to tell you, it really would get more. It would totally get a lot of. It would get so much. If he had a show like that where they were all trying out to get the VP slot, that would come close to Super Bowl level numbers.
Well, we're gonna have this really great opportunity. Awesome. We're gonna have this really great opportunity tomorrow. You're gonna really enjoy it. After I crush corporate Nikki Haley in New Hampshire, it's gonna be a great victory. It might be as great as a victory as we had in Iowa. You never know.
You really need to crush her good in New Hampshire, because otherwise she's going to go through South Carolina.
She's going to continue on like the parasite that she is. And I totally don't want her there. So what I do want.
But tell us how you're not going to warmonger like she is, because when you're the person,
I
but you in fact,
I will bring everybody to the
table. You brought everybody to the table. You moved the embassy to Jerusalem.
I thought it was a great idea.
It's a shitty idea. It was a shitty idea then.
Well, that it happens. We don't make perfect decisions, but it was a great decision because I made it.
No, it was a shitty decision.
But we're going to have the VP Apprentice. It's going to be great. We're going to have Nikki. We're going to have Vivek. We're going to have Christy. We're going to have Elise. We're going to have Tim Scott. Carrie Lake's running for Senate, so I guess she's not going to be able to join the party. But there will be plenty of others who will be vying for my attention and my love and loyalty.
Wish you could just pick somebody remotely normal.
I really would.
Although the remotely normal people probably wouldn't want that job. Like, well,
I just wanted to have the opportunity once again to have people
like a Thomas Massey or somebody with a brain.
He's terrible. He's a terrible person. He supported Ron DeSantis. I don't like that guy. Even though that name has been retired, and I'm grateful that the governor finally came to his senses.
Now he's going to just be licking your boots nonstop.
I made him the governor, and he's totally.
I bet he'd be happy to be in your little VP.
Ron
VP race.
Ron Disaster has.
Are you auditioning, little Ron? You know he wears lifts.
Well, that's because he always is looking up at me, and I'm looking down.
Well, and I've got to say, in all seriousness, people don't realize this, and this is the truth, is that presidents are tall.
That's true, and that's why I'm really.
They've all been tall historically. They're tall, and so for someone 5'8" to be running for president is a stretch.
That is true, and that is why if a woman is ever going to be president, she's got to be tall.
I don't think that would necessarily translate, but even among women. We know that tall people get jobs faster, get paid more. It's true. I mean,
did you know that Kamala Harris is really tiny? She's a really tiny woman. She can't be president.
That's not why.
And she makes me.
But that's not why she can't be president.
Well, that's a whole other story.
She's completely unqualified and incapable.
She makes me look like a stable genius that I am. And of course,
she can't form a complete sentence.
I want to have an opportunity to do the Apprentice VP. And I want to be able to tell everyone who's pissed me off a little extra that you're fired. You're fired. You're fired. And you're all fired except for one.
You're going to have to make DeSantis agree not to wear lifts in the competition.
I don't think he'd agree to that, which is why he's not going to shoot for it. But ultimately, it's my party. I'll cry if I want to. The Apprentice VP, it's coming, and you're going to love it. It's going to be really great. Make sure you tune in. Make America great again in 24.
And Chris, I actually did recently look up, just out of curiosity, like tallest presidents and like what their heights were. We have not had what would be considered a short president in modern era.
Ironically,
like it was like all and like seriously, they were all over 6 feet except for Jimmy Carter, and I think he was like 5'11".
Ironically, I still think that the best.
That's a good point, but that also had to do with like the penis helmet in the tank. It was a bad look.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
But it just goes to show you that, in my opinion, the best president, overall, the best commander in chief I think we've ever had, Teddy Roosevelt, was actually only 5'8" or 5'9". He was short, but remember,
carried a big stick. Rode a moose. He didn't really ride a moose, though.
He actually did.
He did not ride a moose. That is a frigging urban legend. That is not true. Okay? That is ridiculous. He did not ride a moose.
He was the leader of the Rough Riders, and he
rode a horse, but he did not ride a moose.
Fair enough. Point is that he probably couldn't have been elected president because of his height even at that time. But he was able to get in there because of a tragedy, the assassination of a president. However,
which happened where?
Buffalo, New York.
Which is then where Teddy Roosevelt was sworn in. And you can actually go and visit and shout out to India Walton, our Buffalo friend, and the sad loss of her team, because it was a great game last night.
It was.
But in Buffalo, you can actually go. There's a Teddy Roosevelt museum that exists at the house. It's really cool. It exists at the house where he got sworn in, that used to be owned by whatever local mayor, politician person in Buffalo, where they had the swearing in ceremony, because that's where McKinley got shot, was in Buffalo. And so he was basically there on his deathbed, and Roosevelt had to come into Buffalo, and that's where he got sworn in. Yeah. Anyway, I know this because I actually really like Buffalo.
Great game last night. Unfortunately, the Bills could not finish the job.
No, I felt about, you know what though? Shout out to frickin' Josh Allen. That man runs. And not only does he run,
he's a great player.
He moves like he's a tight end moves. Like he runs into it. It's like, I'm almost scared for his safety.
There's no question, though, that the talent gap, I think Josh Allen right now is a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. However, Patrick Mahomes has the better team. There's no question that the breakaway players,
is a great quarterback.
Pacheco, obviously Kelsey, the fact that, Buffalo's defense was really banged up, but the fact that they got mixed up on that cross route that allowed Kelsey to walk into the end zone completely uncovered, that's at that point of the game where you're like, how much more do you want Josh Allen to do?
And yet, look how close the score was.
It was.
So Buffalo played a great game. I thought it was a good game. I thought it was a good game. And so Buffalo played a great game.
And ultimately, despite all of that, when the game was hanging in the balance, when Kansas City was ready to break it open and make it a 2-score game, Buffalo's defense came through when it absolutely needed to. And then they came through again when Allen had a 3-and-out, and they had to come back, and they still stopped them again. And then Allen literally was marching his team down the field to score the winning touchdown. Every play they needed to make, he made. And then the 2-minute warning hit, and they had like this almost like gap, like this break, when they didn't need it. And we know during playoff games, those 2-minute warning gaps are like 5-6 minutes long. So they were kind of like hanging around. And then he runs that bootleg play where he missed Diggs across the middle. He tried to throw the touchdown pass. Again, you didn't need to do that there. You needed to just continue to methodically get down the field. It was there for them the entire game.
I know, but I thought they played great. I'm kind of just so over Patrick Mahomes.
I am too, but I'm really over the fact that they will not stop with Taylor Swift.
He's going to slowly but surely fill Tom Brady's void in my head, and that's not a good. It's not a good place to be.
For those of you who are calling Bass the next Scott,
the other one?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
For those of you who are calling Bass the new Scott Norwood, let me tell you something.
Oh my God!
If you watch that kick,
oh my God,
that kick was right on line, and the wind took the ball. There is no question the wind took that ball. And that's why he was so beside himself. He thought he made the kick. It was straight on. And I'm telling you, if you watch the trajectory,
so bad for
just
him.
The wind grabbed it. And that's one of the reasons. This is one of the reasons
I felt bad for Scott Norwood.
Of course. And Norwood barely missed it. And that kick was a long kick. That was not a short kick.
I believe it was like 56 yards.
No, it wasn't. It was 47. But
no, it had to be 50.
47? I know what it was. I'm the Giants fan here. Anyway, my point is, it sucks that it came down to that. It's great that the Detroit Lions are in the NFC Championship game. I think they have a puncher's chance against San Francisco because I do think that when it's all said and done, I do think that Jared Goff is more trustworthy than Brock Purdy is. San Francisco is the better team, the more talented team, no question about it. But Detroit has a very special mojo going on right now.
And let's be clear, I'm now Detroit. From here on, I am rooting Detroit.
I do think that on paper,
that town needs this. Detroit needs love.
They do.
Michigan needs love. And so I will root for them. They're always the underdog. I hate the gray uniforms, guys. Whoever at the Lions
blue
franchise.
And white. Just keep it blue and
well,
white.
no, I don't mind gray, but they're wearing.
That is the primary. I agree.
No, but they're wearing all gray. They look like they're wearing like long johns. It's not good. It's so emasculating. Whoever, I feel like George Costanza.
Well,
oh, Chris, you know what? Is he local? You're not local, right?
No. Well, keep in mind that
maybe George Costanza is handling the Lions uniforms.
No, you never know. They're cotton. They're all cotton.
It's all cotton. No, they look like long johns.
Keep in mind that I do think that if everything breaks the way that it should, again, on paper, Baltimore should beat Kansas City. Does that mean that that's what's going to happen? No, not necessarily.
Are you talking about the Jamal Bowman? Because we
totally
haven't
forgot about that.
Well, we covered it on Status Coup. We sat in for Jordan on Status Coup before our show, and we did talk about
we'll
it.
Make predictions on Thursday for the championship games. We'd love to see.
I am rooting for Detroit.
I'd love to see Detroit in the Super Bowl.
And of course, who are you? You're rooting for Baltimore.
I am definitely rooting for Baltimore to beat Kansas City, and I'm definitely rooting for the Lions to beat the San Francisco 49ers.
You know what? I'm rooting for the team that's never won.
Listen, the 49ers haven't won a Super Bowl since 1994. So Lions first, Niners second, Ravens third, and of course, Chiefs last. Last. great team. Won't take anything away from
And
them.
normally I would root AFC just because, like, I would just root conference. But I really would like to see Detroit.
Colin, please cue up Jamal Bowman's tweet.
Oh God, guys,
Norman
we have to
Finkelstein.
address this. We have to address this. If you think, like, just when you you think AOC is disappointing, and yeah, that is disappointing. And I love how she so dismisses, like, we shouldn't put so much faith in our elected leaders. No shit, you've shown that. But like, you know, Jamal, and the amount of comments about just go pull a fire alarm somewhere, you know, obviously.
Now, keep in mind, almost all of these retweets are subtweets to basically tell him what a fool he is. I mean, this is a ratio of all ratios. But this statement is a statement akin to somebody who basically has a gun to his head from somebody in AIPAC in his district telling him, and I'm pretty sure Norman Finkelstein is a constituent of Jamal Bowman's. So for him to make a statement like this,
right? Because he lives,
I think he lives in Riverdale.
Yeah, I mean, I
in
know.
which case he's in the district. And
I know
so
he's in the city.
this to me really speaks to a person who doesn't have a backbone to do the right thing.
You guys have to go on and read, if you guys get a chance, go on and read the comments to this post. He got skewered.
This is
and rightfully so. Jamal.
A knockout of knockouts.
Jamal. Going after Norman Finkelstein. It's not a good look. Calling someone who is a child of Holocaust survivors anti-Semitic, not a good look. It's just not. And it's so, I don't know who he is kowtowing to. I mean, we know who he's kowtowing to, whatever donor of whatever, you know, Israel lobby person came to him. But what's so ridiculous is they're primarying him anyway.
And the guy who is trying to primary him is basically running a very similar campaign to the one that Chantel Brown ran against Nina Turner.
Yeah, Metalopoli, he is the fire alarm guy. And he still has a job because, unfortunately, that's not fireable, apparently. But he claimed it was a mistake. Although I did say at the time that if it were something that were fireable, that rule should apply to him as well. But I don't know what the rules are there. And I also don't know what they did in terms of him getting due process. I really don't know. But yes, it's the fire alarm guy.
That would also explain why Richie Torres is as big a Zionist as he is. For those of you who don't know, Riverdale is part of the Bronx, but it's the North Bronx. It's the affluent part of the Bronx. The South Bronx is where all the plight and gangs and very working people live, predominantly of Hispanic origin and Black origin. Riverdale is almost exclusively Jewish. Yeah, it's true.
And you know what? I saw a clip recently, and it was actually from a long time ago. And it was a very profound person who said, I can't even remember who it was, but it's anti-Semitism used to be somebody who didn't like Jews. And now it's somebody that Jews don't like.
Yeah.
And
that's very well said.
I know. And it wasn't me, guys. It's not me. And it was an older anti-Zionist Jewish man. And I can picture it. This was from a few years ago, and I just saw it recirculating again. But it's true. Anti-Semitism is no longer somebody who doesn't like Jews. It's just somebody who Jews don't like. So it's sad but true.
And that is true. He is a good man. He's been a guest on our show multiple times. We try not to bother him too much because everybody wants a piece of him these days. And
what did he say that was reprehensible, Jamal? Yeah. We should reach out and see if Jamal, I'd love for him to come on and tell me what it was that Norman Finkelstein said that was
Hey, listen, you're going to have a hard enough time getting Michael Gottlieb to come on this show.
No, Michael Gottlieb won't come on
is ever going to come on here?
Well, he'd come on before Michael Gottlieb would, actually.
They don't want to be challenged.
But I would love to know what were Norman's reprehensible comments, because as of yet, everything that he has said that's come out of his mouth is exactly what I think about this. Like, I honestly can't think of anything that he has said on this particular, issue as of late where I don't agree. So I don't know what it was that was so reprehensible, Jamal. I'd love to know what was so reprehensible that somehow you're equating Norman Finkelstein as an anti-Semite, which is, you know what? It really just makes you look like an unserious person.
It's not going to win him any friends. It's not going to do him any favors.
It just makes you look really ignorant.
It does. And this is just another example.
So bad.
But I think it also brings the conversation full circle that we've talked about constantly when it comes to the difference between the political left and the political right. The people on the political right, especially the elected representatives, fear their base. and they never want to cross them. The people on the left, and especially the ones that are supposed to be representing the left, like AOC, like Jamal Bowman, like John Fetterman, they put their thumb in the eye.
Yes, big dumb animal. I'm sure that's exactly what it is. I've heard pretty much every talking point that Norman has made since October 7th. I don't think it's something that I haven't heard. And yes, it is what he says is that does he condemn Hamas? And he really doesn't.
Until the occupation is over, he's not going to.
And basically he sees them as resistance fighters, and he sees what happened on October 7th more akin to Nat Turner's slave rebellion. And he's right. And as somebody who has studied things like logic and law, he is right. People just don't like that because it makes them uncomfortable. I am so sick of people feeling uncomfortable. I don't give a fuck about the Jewish kids at Columbia that feel uncomfortable. I really don't. You know who's uncomfortable? Palestinians are uncomfortable. The ones in Gaza in particular. They're very uncomfortable. So when privileged fucking academic Jews are sitting there just trying to censor people and play the victim card, it makes me insane. It is so you're uncomfortable. Somebody wearing a keffiyeh makes you uncomfortable. Oh my God, I can't even. Unless somebody is strangling you with the keffiyeh, shut the fuck up. I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but you guys know what I'm talking about.
Keffiyeh.
No, it's keffiyeh.
It's a joke.
Oh, okay.
Keffiyeh. Remember?
Oh no, well, no, but the scarf. But the point is, I am so tired of people playing the Jews playing the victim card. Jews are not victims. Jews are survivors. Stop being a victim. When do we stop being a victim? You aren't anymore. You're the oppressor. It's officially has switched over. It's time to acknowledge that. You're not a victim.
And can I just say, money talks and justice walks. So Dean Phillips, who is committed to actually doing some type of a primary run against Joe Biden, got $1 million in corporate money from none other than Bill Ackman. And as a result, he has changed his opinion about DEI.
I'm sure he has.
Surprise.
I'm sure he has.
Dance on the string, baby, because that's what the money does for you.
They tap dance like Bojangles, man. It's ridiculous. But it's, keffiyeh. Yeah, right. I remember that. It was the keffiyeh. Right. But no, I'm talking about the keffiyeh. I sounded like a right-winger complaining about snowflakes. I always complain about snowflakes. I've been saying it for a long time. You will not survive this world. And here's the thing.
Put your big boy pants on.
Yeah, and that's where I separate from a lot of people that are traditionally thought of as leftists, because I don't do that. This is where I'm very libertarian.
You gotta live in the real world.
Suck it up, Buttercup.
Really?
I am also somebody who went to camp. I am somebody who actually knows how to be out in the world and has done suck it up. Okay, I'm Gen X.
There's somebody.
We solved problems before we could call our mommies on our cell phones.
Oh yeah. I
honestly, and here's the thing, also more importantly about me, and I've said it before, I do not care about people's feelings. I really don't. Feelings are very interesting. They come, they go. We all have them. Sometimes I'm happy. Sometimes I'm sad. I don't give a shit. I don't care about your feelings. That's for your interpersonal people to care about. I care about my friends' feelings, my family's feelings, but in terms of creating policy in the public and whatever, I don't give a shit about your feelings. I don't care about the Jewish people's feelings at Columbia University. I don't give a shit about them. The people I care about are people whose babies are freezing to death and having heart attacks. That's it. They are very uncomfortable. So I am so done with people even talking about Jewish people being made to feel uncomfortable in this country. If you are Jewish and you do not feel safe here, end it now. Just end it now. There will be nowhere else for you to go then. Seriously, you will not survive here. I am so done with it. I'm so done. I don't give a shit. Every Jew at Columbia that's uncomfortable, go fuck yourself. You're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
People living in tents that children are freezing to death. You're uncomfortable. The level of entitlement and privilege. It's like watching Deborah Messing saying she feels like she's at home in Israel. That's another one that I want to step outside and have some words with.
I am in favor. Well, Deborah Messing needs her comeuppance just as much as Elise Stefanik needs hers.
There's a whole bunch of these women that just have never properly been put in their place.
Yeah.
And I don't come from streets that kind of thing, but I am Gen X and I grew up where we had to take care of ourselves and I got myself home and there were fights and I've been hit and I've been in fights and you deal with shit.
Down.
And these are people, and I don't care who you are. And we all know this to be true. Every single one of us at some point has been put in our place. We really have. And if you haven't, then you're somebody that people generally doesn't like.
Not Debbie, not Marjorie Taylor Greene.
But people know what I'm talking about. As a
Yes.
human being, especially, and again, I'm Gen X. We didn't tolerate bullshit amongst ourselves. It was suck it up, man. And so it's like a lot of these people just strike me as women that have never properly been put in their place. And I say that not as like in any sort of patriarchal way, not in any man-woman way. In a, we're all sharing and coexisting together and you are a spoiled fucking brat and need to be put in your place kind of way. That's what I'm talking about, not in a male-female way. Thank you, JM.
Really appreciate the $2.
Yes, lest I be called a misogynist.
Well, sure.
Yes, I think all people at some point get a little too big for their britches. And all people need to so many.
Because they're not native to that part of the world.
That's the thing.
That's
and I don't think that that's true, though.
It is actually true. This was brought up the other day. It's very interesting. According to Rania Kalik of Breakthrough News, friend of the show, great gal.
They're being smited.
There is no
like boils.
Skin cancer is the highest in the world in Israel. That's not a mistake. And we know why.
Maybe you all white people shouldn't have moved to the middle of the desert where you actually are not from, other than at some point we all are, right? Like we all come from one black woman in the middle of friggin' the crescent of the earth. But other than that,
Where is
that's
that believed to be?
I want to say it's like somewhere in Ethiopia or something
Yeah,
that.
So.
It's somewhere it's somewhere in Africa. It's like the whatever. The point is we're all ultimately all from there. But I'm talking about in relative, modern times. If you are white, you are not from the Middle East. You're just not. You burn. Yeah, that's the thing. You know what? And you look ridiculous saying that that's where you're from. Deborah Messing, you look like a fucking moron.
Yeah, talk about the poster child for just...
I feel like I'm home. Are you fucking kidding me? Your home is like on the Upper West Side. Get over yourself.
Noah Tishby. Another one who's
I don't know who that is.
Spokesperson for Netanyahu, who's also not from there. I think she's from England.
They're all from other places. They're all white. They're Russian. They're French. They're German. They're all white. And they're sitting like... It is the most ridiculous thing. And
you know what's going to end up happening? They're going to all end up voting for RFK. That's going to happen. Because if he doesn't change his stance, it's going to be absolutely crazy.
Thank you, Chris. We are, and thank you for appreciating.
Yeah.
And you too.
I'm hungry. Are you hungry?
I am hungry.
Yeah.
But I'm also like a little bit toasty.
Well, that makes you
a little sad
hungry.
that it's. I feel a little sad that it's a Monday because I feel like this should be like a happy hour kind of moment. And we're finishing up early for us.
Yes. And I've still got work to do. And Jen.
Yeah, Metal, I'm never going to ever be, don't worry about me ever being a snowflake. I am not. I don't get offended. I do not get offended. You do burn at night. You probably do. You're probably pasty as shit, man.
I know it all too well, my friend.
He's pasty. But he's pasty.
Yeah.
But
I can get cold.
Yeah, nobody is going to offend me.
It takes a long time.
I don't get offended. Actually, no. Genocide offends me. Like things offend me.
That offends
things offend me. And one thing I wanted to say, but we didn't really have time to get into it with Anna Eskamani, that I think is a very important thing to distinguish and delineate between people. The difference between hate crimes and hate speech is very important to me. Oh, big dumb animal.
Thank you very, very much.
The difference between, and so what she was talking about, and she very specifically was speaking about hate crimes. And so I want to be very clear that kind of going after that, I agree with 1,000%.
Yes, that's totally different.
No, I just don't think.
You said language versus action is two totally different things.
I actually think like hate crimes should get penalties out the yin-yang. Like I think that their penalties should be so exponential, almost in a punitive, like horrid way. I actually do think that. But hate speech, I don't have a problem with. I actually don't mind it. I like to know who the bigots are. Please show me who you are. It's not like they're going to just be that because they're allowed to. They're that anyway.
And this is peak liberalism.
Yeah.
There are people who really do believe that you can just push. You can push all hate out of the world. Like but you can't do it.
Like they can just legislate that by saying that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. Like if you just put that in writing and we all agree to it, then everyone will stop picking on the Jews. No, Mike, they're never going to stop picking on the Jews because people can be assholes.
And
but
this
so
is going
what?
To make it so much worse.
But here's the thing. So people don't like you because you're Jewish. All right.
Who gives a fuck?
Exactly. Are you living under a systemically oppressed situation, like a vulnerable people, like, let's say, I don't know, Black people in this country? Are you living under a system? Are Jews in this country living under a system of systemic oppression? Because if they are, please let me know. Maybe I will take up a collection for the oppressed Jews. I don't know those people. But I don't understand why these people feel the need to be making points of themselves like they are the oppressed people. Just because people don't like you. There's always going to be people that don't like you. And yes, just because you're Jewish, there's people that don't like us because we're Jewish. They don't like us. And they say mean things. And here's the thing, I don't give a shit.
I really have to wonder at some point, are they really this disconnected? Like, are they this insulated that they really think they're oppressed? Like, does Deborah Messing really not know
I don't understand. I don't understand. These people do not understand what oppression is.
Well,
what racism is, what bigotry is, what anti-Semitism. People saying mean things does not constitute you being a victim.
I just have to say,
so frustrating.
The thing about Deborah Messing that I will always remind people of is that her sense of self-importance is at the highest level out of any has-been celebrity I have ever seen.
What was it that she was saying?
She was saying how
Black women.
She was talking. First of all, she was going after Nina Turner and basically telling her about how I have a black. She did the I have a black friend thing.
Right. She did say the I have a black friend.
On top of that, she actually went on social media to rant to the Biden administration about how you're not listening to me. I know what's best. I was in the.
Oh my God.
I sat down with you guys and I told you what needed to happen, and you're not listening to me. It's like, who in the fuck are you?
She did that interview also with somebody where she was like so condescendingly talking about, I forget what it was, if it was like just the demographic of Black women or what she was talking about, but she was actually talking in this way where they were all like, just listen. Y'all got to listen to me. Like in some very like sanctimonious way. I don't know. I find her so annoying.
If ever there was an opportunity, and they both live in Manhattan, if there ever was an opportunity for Susan Sarandon to kick the shit out of Deborah Messing, I would pay money to see it. Like I really would.
The thing is it's not even a matter of a physical thing. It's just so pathetic to me that somebody is so ignorant.
It is. And Deborah Messing is somebody who never properly got a raise.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. That's someone who just comes from. That's a silver spoon baby.
She went to the Catskills during the summer and all. You know,
she comes from money, right? Like she comes from privilege for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I don't judge that. That in and of itself is not a thing.
How you are as a person matters,
right? But what it does show me is what your originating perspective is, and then you look at the person as, have they been able to grow from that? Have they been able to do that? So when somebody is still stuck in their original privilege and they haven't had any self-awareness or realization of their place in the universe, that is when their privilege is a problem. Because your privilege is there whether you appreciate it or not. It's just there. It's there just like because I'm wearing it. Okay. But me knowing that and using that in a way that is beneficial to other people and sharing that and using that to do is better, as opposed to whatever that shit is that she's doing. That is one entitled, privileged woman.
Smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things that we ask you to do. You guys have been great. Travers, Donald James, Based, Chad Thunderjock, Chris Garrett, Joe Anthony. We got some new people in here today as well. Jimmy Zimzam, hope you have all subscribed. Click that like button. Make sure that you have also clicked the bell.
I want to know if Base Chad Thunderjock looks like that.
Probably not. Or maybe he does. Metalopoly.
He's cute.
K Days, Rachel K, Steve Grossman.
Thank you, guys.
Gabe, thank you so much. Amy Schumer has arguably been the most.
And here's the thing. She is the least talent out of any of them. So it's almost like
Amy Schumer has a reputation for stealing jokes and has never been properly called out.
She's horrible. But at least Deborah, and I will say this to Deborah Messing, okay? She has been good in things. She was funny on Will and Grace, and she has been good in other things. And I've seen her in things that I thought she was good in. This was before I knew that she was a total piece of shit. But you're right. Amy Schumer is arguably the most insufferable because I feel like she's just standing there with absolutely no talent whatsoever.
Steve Grossman, JM, Ray J, Charlemagne, welcome to the channel again, guys. If you haven't subscribed,
Also, I find Mayim Bialik incredibly insufferable.
God, she's just like Gal Gadot. The only difference is that Gal Gadot's the supermodel and Mayim Bialik is the bookworm. But they're all the same person. They all see the world through the same Zionist lens. They have absolutely no nuance whatsoever, none. And even if they know deep down that they need to have it, that they should have it, they don't care, because to them, remember, there is a segment of the Jewish population that is taught from a very young age that they are the chosen people and they are benevolent and entitled to do whatever the fuck they want.
I don't know who those people are. We've had this discussion many times. I don't know anyone who was taught that, but we are definitely taught that we are better than Arabs and that they are lesser than.
Michael Cooper, JD Party Hat, who have I not? Big Dumb Animal.
And I honestly think that's one of the things that's pissing people off the most that I'm saying, is that I'm airing that dirty laundry about what Jews talk about. I'm airing like locker room talk. I'm telling people that we're told that and we're taught that. And I think that's pissing off a lot of Jews because I'm telling their secrets. But yet I haven't had one person contradict what I'm saying. We've had multiple guests on here that were raised Jewish all over, and even guests that were raised Jewish in other countries. And to some extent or another, we've all had that same brainwashing.
Well, Henry Kajawa, great to see you. Ronwell Nagals, and again, new to the show. Happy to have you guys here. Yeah, like Kate Bogan. Like there is this thing about you're telling trade secrets and you're not supposed to do that.
I have lady crush on her.
RC Quake fan. Philip Blair, also a new person. Great to see you as well. Make sure that you, again, everybody, make sure that you have hit that like button. Make sure you have subscribed. And
what do we have coming up on Thursday?
We are supposed to potentially have Angela McArdle, the chair of the Libertarian Party, come on.
But she owes us, but she is canceled. I would love to talk to the chair of the Libertarian Party. I've got some questions.
I think it's always good to mix it up. You know, we definitely have, we're still trying to get Ryan Grimm to come on. Avalon 19, all of you guys. I think I've hit just about everybody.
And someone was, I don't know who it was who was saying that me saying I don't debate is like, it's like a bad.
Yes, Yog Groove. Look, we're talking about debating settled issues. Like
no, and the truth is yes, but here's the thing. In general, I did litigation. That's what I did. So I can argue and I can debate. And I'm actually really good at it, but I don't like it. So I choose not to do that. Now, I'm very happy to converse with people. I'm very happy to be on panel discussions. I'm happy to be given new information. And I don't think me saying that I don't want to argue anymore is a bad look. I actually think it's a good look. I'll talk to anybody. And anybody who knows me, I talk to people. I go to all different groups of people. I will talk to anyone.
And here really is the rub, guys. The reason why Amy Schumer has been able to get away with what she's been able to get away with for so long, despite her actually finally admitting on social media that she is, in fact, Chuck Schumer's niece, but doesn't really have a close relationship.
Right. Like as if that's had nothing to do with anything for her.
No doors opened due to Chuck Schumer being the most powerful.
And whether or not it is because of Chuck Schumer or just because of she's in that family and whoever else his connections are from gave her connections. I don't know. Who the hell knows? It could just be the fact that there's money. It could be a million things. It doesn't matter. She's a talentless hack.
Well, you heard it here, folks. Jen Perlman calls Amy Schumer a talentless hack. And I'm here for it. Smash that like button.
Do you have something she's done that I would think is good? Because I have not seen anything that she's done.
I've seen enough to know that she doesn't have it. She just doesn't have it. But
Trainwreck was good, but I like Bill Hader.
I like Bill Hader too. So he's talented.
Right. And so I like that movie. And I also
the only person more insufferable than her in that movie is LeBron James, which of course just adds to the whole layer of just
I have no issue with LeBron
sad
James.
This has got.
Why do you have an issue with LeBron? Like, what's wrong with
LeBron?
I'm
not going to start with that now. We'll do that next show. Smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things we ask you to do. You guys have been fantastic. From everybody who was here from Status Quo, thank you for joining us. Make sure that you are now.
She is a cousin of Chuck, Rachel. She is the cousin of Chuck. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, niece. Or I thought she was a niece. Or is she a cousin? Well,
I think she's a cousin.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
It's a cousin.
She's a bloodline. Okay, fair enough. She's a Schumer. That's all you
I didn't realize you had said that niece.
I thought niece. Well, that's what somebody said before.
No, she's his cousin.
Smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things we like you to do. We appreciate you all. It means so very, very much. Have a great evening. We'll see you Thursday.